Just could you just provide us a quick update, please, on Owen Farrell and Courtney Laws?
Yeah, well, Owen's had his operation, or was going to have his operation, so he'll be out of the Six Nations. Courtney's progressing nicely, so we're still hopeful he'll be available for Scotland.
Just on Owen, then, that's obviously a massive blow.
Well, it's a massive blow for him personally, and for the team, it's a blow, but it's also an opportunity for other guys to step up into leadership roles, an opportunity for other players to play for that 12 jumper. So, yeah, we see it more as an opportunity. In today's rugby, having your best team on the field is a rare occurrence. So, yeah, we're pretty used to it. Last night we had to leave our hotel because we had a fire outside. So, yeah, the boys are adaptable. They know how to get on with it, and there's an opportunity there to build a bit more leadership depth.
Joe Marler's obviously tested positive. Do you hope to have him available for Scotland? And can you just give an update on Johnny May as well, please?
Yeah, Joe seems to have a habit of catching COVID. I don't know what it is about him, but he's got COVID again. But we're hopeful again he'll be training on Monday or Tuesday. The doctor's got the exact details of that. Johnny May's more likely than not going to have some surgery on his knee, but the details of that's a little bit sketchy at the moment, so he's likely to be out of the Six Nations.
Eddie, it's obviously not been an ideal preparation. How would you sum it all up, sort of a week or so out from the Scotland game?
Look, we've got a young team here, but a very good team, and a team that's going to be extremely competitive for the Six Nations. So our focus will start training tomorrow. We've had a good couple of days down in Brighton, bit of a disruption last night, but again, an opportunity for the team to adapt to the circumstances and get on with it. So, yeah, we're looking forward to this team every day get a little bit better, put in 100% effort and keep improving throughout the course of the Six Nations.
You said earlier in the week that you were looking forward to having Marcus play alongside Owen, and that his experience would be good for him. Just how much of a test do you think it will be for Marcus? Not having Owen alongside him.
We've got other experience backs. We may move Slady in one spot from 13 to 12. It's important for any 10 in the world, whether it's Marcus Smith or whether it's Finn Russell or whether it's Intermac for France, that the 12's a good communicator, take some of the pressure away from the 10 in terms of giving good information, assisting in the defence role. So Marcus' situation is no different from any other 10 in the world.
Yeah, and how did you think he went during the autumn, and what sort of pleased you about his progress?
Yeah, really positive, mate. For a young guy to play against the number one country in the world and number three country in the world in his second and third Test match, and steer the team to victory. What I enjoyed most was particularly his effort against South Africa, where it was one of those games where we were going to have to win it 2 or 3 times, and he was orchestrating particularly that third attempt when we had a chance to win it, and he had showed a lot of courage. We always went out there against South Africa, particularly to attack the space, which is not always easy to do against South Africa because there's space there and then it goes quickly because of their rushing defence. And he showed a lot of courage, a lot of composure and a lot of skill. And, he's only going to get better during the Six Nations.
I'm just wondering how the new guys have been in camp this week. You often talk about the energy boost that the younger, newer guys get. What's that week been like with the new caps?
Yeah, really good. That was evident when we did our Misogi yesterday. The boys did a Misogi at Brighton Beach yesterday, which involved transporting some sandbags from one end of the beach to the other and then going out in the water, and the young guys ripped in, and guys like Barbary and Northholm, they've come into the squad. They don't look out of place. And the senior players are doing a great job making him feel comfortable. And, the younger guys who were there in summer are now, moved almost immediately into the middle group of of the squad. So there's a good feel there. So we're pleased with what we've seen so far.
Tom, how does it feel for you to suddenly be one of the elder statesmen already, with these young guys coming through all the time? You're suddenly an experienced member of the squad, and it seems like yesterday you were that new guy knocking on the door.
It's new, but it's exciting. Like Eddie touched on, kind of these players come in and they're wanting to learn. You know, Alfie's asking questions already. It's probably a little bit of a newer role. But I think the excitement and the energy around the squad makes it a lot easier to just crack on with things. Really exciting times.
Just with Owen, I know he's out of the Six Nations.
I don't know any more about that at this stage. I know a surgeon saw him on Sunday. They're making the plan and they hope to operate as soon as possible. But I would imagine, I'm not a doctor, mate, but I would imagine the injuries, the rehab's going to be similar to his previous injury.
You had Jess Ennis-Hill in camp with you yesterday. Can you just tell us what she sort of brought and how helpful that was for you?
Yeah, look, she's obviously was an outstanding athlete. It's a great story, the resilience that she showed, the expectation that she had to cope with, and Maro and George Furbank organised a Q&A, of which I embarrassed myself at the start of it by calling her the wrong name. So it's a bit embarrassing for the team that their head coach is such a dodo. But we all make mistakes, so we get on with it. But she was really good, mate. Really good messages for the team, particularly for the young guys coming through. Tom just alluded to the young guys coming in the squad, that they're all dealing with that expectation. How she handled the social media, how she handled the training, how she handled the communication with the coaches. There was some really good points there for the players to absorb.
And Tom, just finally, can I ask you, just with Owen, how much of a loss is that in terms of the leadership and what he sort of brings to the group for you as the captain?
Yeah, obviously Owen's gutted and he's a brilliant player. But I think the strength and the direction we're going is that, it's a group thing. In terms of a leadership group, there's brilliant voices in there, great experience. Owen's a great player and a great leader, but we've got to make sure we step up, and I think that's the exciting challenge. It doesn't fall on one person's shoulders or one person's responsibility, and I think that's where we can really pull together and push forward in a really good direction.
When we saw you last week, you said your leadership group was going to be formed in Brighton. I just wondered how that's been progressing, if you can give us any idea the names that have come forward and if anyone surprised you and emerged, obviously without the likes of Owen and Courtney being there.
We're not going to name it yet. We'll wait until we name the team for Scotland. But we've got a group of players who are assuming responsibility, but part of their job. And the reason I'm not going to name it, because there's the core leadership and then there's a greater leadership group. And for instance, yesterday we had two events that were run by the team. The first one was with Jessica Ennis. And George Furbank and Murrow took responsibility for that. And then in night time, we had team communications that we ended up having in, I think that you had it in a pub, didn't you? Yeah. So they had it in a pub, and Murrow took responsibility for it. So what we're trying to do, there will be a core group of which is made up of 4 or 5 vice captains. But they're almost like the cabinet, and they're going to make sure they devolve responsibility to the other guys in the team.
And just one more from me, if that's okay. George Ford's obviously back in camp now. How's he been, and what sort of influence does he bring to that group? Obviously, he's got a wealth of experience.
Yeah, look, George has come in with a fantastic attitude. I think, he's always been a guy that's played hard for the team. He deserves the opportunity to come back in the team. There's still areas of the game that we're asking him to keep moving forward, and he's committed to do that. I think yesterday we had our smaller group meetings, our inside backs, outside backs, back row and tight 5. the comment was after the inside backs, we saw George and Marcus and George Furbank all together looking at the video and talking about various things we want to do. So, yeah, he's played a fair few test matches, but he's got a lot to prove, mate. He wants to prove it. So his competition with George Furbank and Marcus Smith to who starts at 10 and who finishes at 10 is going to be vital for the team to go forward.
I just want to know if it's possible, what's your opinion regarding a French player who is Antoine Dupont, but not such as a player, but as a new French captain, the responsibility he got and how you see him with that.
Who's the player, sorry? Antoine Dupont. Dupont's captain, is he? Well, at number 9, he carries a lot of responsibility. He's obviously outstanding player, was World Player of the Year. And the French side is a exciting team full of talent, and his job is to make sure he pulls all that talent together. Yeah, and the expectation of the French for their team is obviously very high. Yeah, when you're able to have a squad of 43 players, as the French are, they're able to develop depth and strength into that squad, and Dupont's role in bringing all those guys together from the 14 different clubs will be crucial to the team going forward and meeting the high expectations of the French public. Everyone's expecting France to win, aren't they? If you put a queue of all the journalists now, the French would be at the top of the queue, mate. So, and he's going to have to cope with that expectations, which is a great opportunity for him to learn and keep developing his captaincy, but he's a fine player.
And Tom, you see him as the new French rugby boss?
As Eddie touched on, he's an exciting player, especially around that 9 role. He's going to be crucial to how they play and especially moving forward. Big responsibility not only on the field but off the field is going to be big for him. But I don't know him as a bloke, but as a player, he's brilliant.
Can you tell us a bit more about what you got up to yesterday? There was a bit of dirt biking, I think, and sea swimming. Can you give us a bit more on what you went up to yesterday?
So we started off in the morning with a nice early masogi, cleanse the soul. Started off kind of tracking sandbags across the beach and back, and then back into the sea multiple times, in and out. And then we had that, and then in the afternoon, the Red Bull motocross. We had another kind of team thing. We rocked up seeing these motocross bikes riding around. We thought we were pretty excited we'd have a go, but we weren't. We were running around it instead. I think some lads were making bike noises as well. So not quite as exciting, but similar concept, kind of team building with Red Bull.
And you mentioned Jessica Ennis-Hill earlier. What did you particularly learn from that chat, Tom? I'm assuming you were in the room with her as well.
I think it's kind of going in terms of the process. I mean, you've got an expectation, but then kind of when you have that expectation, it is pushing through and then not pushing kind of too hard, but making sure you keep improving. Especially when she's got her setbacks or injuries, her expectation might change. So then she's got to keep pushing and progressing. So her ability to adapt and keep evolving was massive, and it showed to come back from kind of a pregnancy and then win silver medal is testimony to her work.
Eddie, have you got any other plans to usually bring in a few more speakers? Is there anyone else on your list that are coming in this week or next?
We might get Roy back now. He's back in the saddle at Watford, mate. No, not at this stage, mate. We go into test match prep on Monday, but we're always looking to see what the team needs, and so we'll just keep assessing that.
Can I just check too on the injuries? Then there are no new fresh ones. The one I wanted to know about was Johnny Hill. Has he got a sore foot, or is he okay?
He's out of the boot, and he's progressing really nicely. It's going to be touch and go for him for the Scotland game, but we're cautiously optimistic he's going to be right. And he's got a really positive mindset. He's like anyone, he's got a few hurdles to get over, but we're reasonably positive that he'll be right, mate.
Just the last one. Do you almost quite enjoy the disruption? You've had the fire, you've had Marla's positive, you've had Owen out, you've had Courtney not being able to train. Johnny, you've said there's touch and go. There's a lot of different bits and pieces being thrown at your squad, but do you like that uncertainty in a way?
Well, we don't ask for it, but when it comes our way, we accept it, and I really like how the players handle it, how they just take it in their stride, get on with it. And the game of rugby teaches you that, doesn't it? You know, we had that difficult game in Wales last year where possibly two decisions were maybe highly debatable, and we probably didn't handle that as a team as well as we would have liked, and we want to learn from that. So all these sort of things that we've had over the last 48 hours are opportunities for us to get a little bit stronger, a little bit more adaptable, and think quicker on our feet. And, you know, you don't suddenly become a team that's adaptable. You're always moving towards it, and I think we're moving in the right direction.
Just a question about the opening weekend, actually. Is it a good start for you guys coming up to Murrayfield? And do you expect Scotland to be broadly similar to the challenge they posed last year?
Yeah, well, you know, in terms of the history of the game, fancy starting the greatest tournament in the world, and I think the Six Nations now is by a country mile the best rugby tournament in the world. It is so competitive, and we get to play in the most historic game, which is the Calcutta Cup. You know, and so from a team point of view, it couldn't be a better start. And you know, they're well coached, Scotland, by Gregor. You know, he picked a number of players for the Lions, and we saw the result of that in the autumn, that they played some very good rugby on the result of having that opportunity for the Lions. So we're looking forward to playing Scotland. You know, they're going to be pretty confident. They're probably up in Edinburgh now, not escaping the fires like us, and being able to train well. So we're looking forward to meeting them, mate.
Just I think it was maybe the mention of Roy that brought up, and coming in for team talks, in my own head brought up when Roy Keane came in to talk to you guys, because Owen Farrell had spoke about it recently, and he came in before the World Cup. I was wondering, Eddie, were you in the room for that kind of talk, and was he kind of an inspirational speaker?
Well, he's one of the funniest blokes I've ever met. Like, he's inspirational, but his stories are incredible, mate. I remember our coaching staff spent about an hour with him, and he had us in just laughing and laughing and laughing, and then he spoke to the players, and he was equally as funny. He's certainly one of the most memorable guys we've had in. Yeah, obviously a very good player and a tough guy in terms of the way he played the game, but yeah, a great raconteur of football stories. So we'd be happy to get him in again.
Good stuff. And just the last one for me, it was just about you know, we've seen the likes of like George and Nick have kind of having to come in with the injuries. I was wondering, do you kind of have like would you make any calls to the guys who don't make the squad that might be on the margins to let them know that you might be coming in? Would you normally do something like that at all?
Yeah, no, 100%, mate. Usually the day before selection, I'll ring the next, anywhere between the next 15 to 30 players who may feel like they deserve selection and didn't get selection. And they're not overly elaborate conversations, but it's just about, look, this is what we'd like to see in your game. We're watching you, be ready. And the game these days, because of the ferocity of the contest, yeah, we're continually changing teams. I can't remember the last time we were able to play the same team two games in a row. So it's part and parcel of modern day rugby. Yeah, we've got a squad of 36 here, but there are another 10 guys we know need to be ready to play in case we get injuries.
Eddie, you talked about the challenges for the players to deal with the disruption. Can you just tell me what you're expecting out of your new coaches as in new to Six Nations, and how much of a challenge it is for them to get their heads around all these changes as well?
Yeah, well, the coaches like players, you know. The Six Nations has got a certain rhythm and tempo to it, and you've got to quickly learn about that. We've had, you know, the only coach who's experienced before is Matt Proudfoot. So his role in sharing that experience with the other coaches is important. And obviously I've been through a few, so we talk about it. But, it's all about preparation, mate. It's all about being well prepared. We've had at least 3 3-day camps for the coaches to prepare for the camp. We want to create the best environment for the players so they can be at their best. So, there's challenges there, but as long as our preparation is good, which it has been, we'll be a well-prepared team.
And just a quick one for Tom. Tom, did you wonder how long it had taken Eddie to arrange for that fire to burst out of the pipes?
Yeah, no, it's quite fitting, isn't it? But I think that's where we are as a team, that we can adapt. We had a few bits with COVID during the Autumn Nations and now with this. It's exciting, it's different, but I guess that's what rugby is about, isn't it? Is keep on adapting. It didn't off-foot us. It makes things a bit more interesting.
Good. I know you would have got a glimpse of it in the last Six Nations, but what did you make of Ireland's performances over the autumn, in particular against New Zealand, and how much tougher does it make your job when you're preparing for them, that they seem to have expanded and added a few extra strings to their bow?
Yeah, I'm sorry to disappoint you, mate, but I'm not too worried about Ireland at this stage. The only game we're worried about is Scotland. So, I obviously watch their games, and our coaching staff watch their games in autumn. And we're pleased they're doing well. Andy Farrell's a good mate of mine. I'm glad he's doing so well, but we're just going to make sure that he doesn't do so well against us.